I don't know how to value land. I don't do a lot of land, and I know you do. And so I thought I'd bring you on, and because the first thing that comes across is, people are saying, should I look at buying a piece of land and build on it? And my short answer has been, well, you can. I don't really know how it's going to pencil out, but I do know that people are still having a hard time finding contractors. So you kind of got that in the background to consider. But when you look at land, like I'll show you one here, and
Sure.
this is out in Queen Creek, and it's
I don't
200.
have my glasses on, Rick. I
That's
can't
okay. I'll
see it.
describe it to you.
Okay.
62,000 square feet, and it's 250,000.
Okay.
And it says that it's got public sewer, no gas, a distance to electric under 350 feet, distance to phone 350, sewer, water 350. So you look at that and you go, okay, well, gee, Jackie, do you think that's a good price or a bad price? And how do we figure that out?
Sure. So did you say 6,200 or 62,000?
62,000. I'm sorry.
So about an acre and a quarter.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that the average for the area? And what is the zoning would be my first question. Is it R43, which is one house per acre?
Okay. Zoning is GR.
Okay. Okay. So and where is this?
Queen Creek.
Okay. So it's different in Queen Creek. So it is probably a minimum of one house per acre. So typically with a lot that if somebody's looking to see if the price is correct, what I would first do is look to see what's built around it. So you want to go look at the homes right surrounding it, um, things that are on a similar size lot. And then typically for an in-town property that's not on the outskirts, you'd want to be about 1/3 of the price of the finished home. So if the home was going to be $1 million home at the end, the lot would be worth about 333,000. I think that's a third, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Approximately. Yeah. My math is correct today.
So I've
And then
seen
it's
a lot of lots that seem to me like they're very overpriced. Of course, they're sitting there, and land takes a long time to sell too, doesn't it?
It does, and it's typically a completely different cycle than regular residential. So, I have a lot out in Tonopah right now that I've had on the market for about 6 or 7 months. Now, they are slightly overpriced on theirs, but they're also over improved for what else is on the market. So, everything in that general area where this lot is, they're all acre and a quarters, and it's R43 zoning there. So, minimum one house per acre. This one happens to be 4 acres. It's already got the septic. The electric has been pulled to the property line. The property's already been, I'm sorry, it doesn't have the septic, but it's been perked. It already has a private well on it, which in the area, typically they have shared wells. So this lot is a little bit over improved for the area. So it's, overpriced for what the area bears. But unfortunately, the buyers that bought that, now the sellers, they weren't aware. I wasn't involved when they purchased it. If it were me, I probably would have divided that into 3 lots and put a shared well on it.
Well, I'm looking at this one that I just showed you, and it's been on the market 244 days. It looks to me like it's kind of way out in the middle of nowhere. Nothing's built around it. That may
Okay.
be part of the problem.
And
But
it
then
would have a different value then.
yeah, so I had a call from a lady up in Washington State who's a mother of a friend of mine. She said that her mother passed away and they owned some land out in West Phoenix, and it took her about 3 months to actually give me the APR so I could find it. I said, "Well, where is it?" "Oh,
Mm.
I don't know." So I said, "Well, we'll check it out." And so I looked it up, and they were all 1 acre parcels, and every one of them that were set for sale, there were about 8 of them, were all the same price,
Oh, sure.
$23,499.
Mm-hmm.
And the only sale in there was for 13K, and it
Mm-hmm.
was the same size. So it looked like everybody wanted 24, 25,000, but only one person sold those lots, and it was only 13,000. It was totally undeveloped. They were just drawn in 1 acre squares.
So somebody probably bought it and split it up. And the thing is, you can have lots right next to each other that are going to have a different value, and it varies, depends on the topo of the lot too. I see that a lot. I mean, how much of the land is usable? Do you have a wash going through it? Does the wash go right through it to where you're going to have to divert it? And you can divert a wash on the land, but you have to come in at the same spot and out at the same spot. And so that can get really costly if you've got to move, divert water one way or another in order to build the house. I mean, how much of the land is usable is going to have a big variable as well.
Well, when we buy a resale home, we have a 10-day inspection period. What's the process like buying land?
So, depending on what you're buying, let's talk generally something that's on the outskirts that somebody's good. For instance, that parcel that you brought up. So, contractually, it's 30 days. So, where the residential purchase contract has 10 days, the vacant land contracts have 30 days. However, a lot of times you need more time. It really depends on what you're going to do. If you're going to be building on that lot, you're probably going to need anywhere from 45 to 90 days, especially if you're going to get contractors and builders involved, because if it's just a raw piece, you've got to have time to perk the land. If the land doesn't perk, you can't put septic in it. You do have to verify where the utilities are. You have to verify the utilities can be pulled and what the cost is going to be. So if it's APS, gosh, you get a ticket from APS. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 weeks just to get an answer from them on that. Then you got a week left if you don't extend that 30-day. It's very rare that I see a typical that I will leave a contract at 30 days, especially if somebody's intentions that are going to be that they're going to build on it. And then you've got to see, are you going to have to drill a well? So then you've got to get a well company out there. They've got to test to see how deep they're going to have to drill. I mean, your wells could go, and depending on where the area is too, because there's a lot of areas in town that have water issues. It doesn't matter if you go 1,500 feet, you're not going to hit water. For instance, New River.
My cousin lives out in the rainforest out in Forks. It's out there summer, and the neighbors next to him, they had a company come out to drill for a well to find water. And he said they went down 1,500 feet and it was already costing them $16,000. And they said, we haven't hit water. We got to stop. And I go, you guys get 10 feet of rain a year and you don't have any water? He goes, nope.
Yeah.
That surprised
It
me. Yeah.
it's crazy. There's areas that you think is going to have water that's going to be good, and there's areas that you don't expect it out smack in the middle of the desert that you only go down 500 or 600 feet. So the process for me, if I was selling a piece of raw land, the first thing I'm going to look at, of course, is verify the zoning. I'm also going to verify that the lot's buildable, because I will tell you there's certain areas of town out in Whitman. I'll give you a for instance. I had a client that bought a piece of land out in Whitman. It was zoned R43. It was completely surrounded by other homes, manufactured. It's out in Whitman, so it's kind of a variable of custom built next to manufactured. There was a church across the street, completely surrounded by homes. So when you're dealing with Whitman, you've got to make sure that you're not in the flight path. And so you've got to at least disclose that if you are. But if you're in the flight path, and this was a big problem for this client, they bought a piece of land and they can't build on it because it's in the crash zone. They
Oh,
don't publish that or change the zoning on it. And I have a real issue with that, because I think the county, I mean, they declare that the land is unbuildable. If they're going to do that, they need to change the zoning on it, but they don't. So that's one of the first things too that you've got to confirm. You got to confirm the topo of the land. If there's a wash going through it, what's going to be the cost if you have to divert the wash? If it's in a flood zone, what's going to be the cost of building it up? Is it going to be 18 inches, 36 inches? How high are you going to have to build? How much infill are you going to have to do? Confirming all, like I said, the utilities. There's just a lot of variables. It is very hard to, and then if you're going to build on it, you've got to have time to get the contractors out there too.
yeah. And
So
then you've
it's
got
very hard to
environmental
stay with
concerns
30
as well.
days.
So
Absolutely.
now, well, what about lots within the city? Because I know like North Central Phoenix was, people were just scrambling to get lots to build on
Oh
there. So
yeah.
people were asking way too much money for them. That's not as long a process, it sounds like.
No, it's not. Well, typically, and when I sit on the price of having approximately a third of being the finished product, that's more so for an infill lot. For the outskirts, you're going to be more like 15 to 20% of what the finished product is going to be. For an infill lot, typically you can get everything done within 30 days. Again, you're going to confirm zoning. Sometimes it makes sense on some of these infill lots to upzone them. So they might be zoned residential, but if you can get higher density zoning on it, it's going to make the parcel worth a lot more money. So I've seen people that go in and they'll take a lot that's just zoned one house per every 6,000 square feet, and they'll get a multi-unit density upzoning on it. That takes time, but a lot of times you can get that done in about 45 to 60 days if you're persistent and you go down to the county and you know someone down there, especially, or the city. But if you can upzone it and get more units in there, it's going to make the lot a lot more valuable.
Yeah, my dad was the president of the planning commission in his town, and that's what they looked at all the time. And they were either heroes or goats. They in fact there's a street there that they were going to put through, but somebody owned this land there, and he wasn't going to give up this spot of land for them to put the road. They were trying to get permission and an easement to build the road there.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't budge, so my dad said, "Well, why don't we just curve it?"
Right.
And it's to this day it's called McCone's Curve. So
And that's one of the things too, because you'll be surprised. I mean, you got to confirm the easements. You've got to confirm, especially on if you're on the outskirts. We just came across a scenario of a property that's in Mesa on a hill, and there's been a dedicated road there for about 20, 30 years. But supposedly there is somebody else that owns that road. Now they got an easement by prescription because they were using it constantly, and as long as you've used that and the owner knows and they're aware of it for 10 years, then that easement's going to stick. But I've seen, it's illegal, but I've seen landlocked lots where somebody sold off some lots and they didn't create an easement.
yeah,
The
you
other
can't
thing
get to
is,
it. Yeah.
right, the other thing is too, is if you're going to develop a piece of land and you're going to put in, let's say for instance, you buy a 5 acre parcel, you want to split it up into four lots and build custom homes on it. You're also going to get involved with the city, because down to little things that people don't think about. For instance, trash pickup. Trash trucks are not allowed to back up. So you've got to take that 5 acre parcel and lay it out in a way. You might not be able to lay it out, parcel. You might have to do it as a cul-de-sac so that the truck has enough room to actually go around in a circle through that cul-de-sac, because City of Phoenix, their trash trucks aren't allowed to back up. They had an incident that was changed many years ago. They had an incident where a trash truck actually backed over a 4-year-old. So they're not allowed to back up. So you've got to think about that if you're going to develop the lot. You know, how
So
do
when
you?
you're looking and you going back to the inspection period, that you're just going to put, there isn't a standard inspection period. You're going to put what you think you need and
There
say,
is a standard.
is it
There is.
what is it?
So contractually, like our residential contracts have 10 days, a vacant land contract has 30 days. But if it's an infill lot, you can get it done typically in 30 days. If it's an outskirt lot, I'm not comfortable with that. You need more time, especially now if you're just going to buy it and you're going to split it and you're going to resell it, because there is some money to be made with splitting up lots and reselling them. There's some good money to be made with that. It takes some time and some patience. But if you're going to do something like that where you're just splitting up the lots and you're not building on it, you can probably get your inspections done within 30 days. But if you're going to develop the lot and build on the lot, I would put anywhere from 45 to 90 days, depending on the builders I'm working with.
I know you haven't been doing a lot of land lately, but are you sensing or seeing that there's pricing pressure either way? Is it kind of flatlined, or lots going down, going up?
It depends on where it is. So if it's something that's in town, those are still hot. And I'm still doing land. I still do probably 4 or 5 pieces of land every year. I get referrals from other agents for land. But anything that's in Scottsdale, that's in the, not way out in Scottsdale, but anything in Scottsdale, those are still selling if it's priced appropriately. Anything that's an infill lot in Central Phoenix, I mean, those are a hot commodity,
Yeah, yeah.
especially if you can upzone those. So you can have the same parcel, two different people looking at it. One person could put a value on it of say 600,000. Another person could put a value on that lot of $1 million. And it really depends on what the end product's going to be. the person at 600,000 most likely is building a custom home. The person at 1 million, they might be building a 10-unit complex.
Well, it sounds. I mean, when I first wanted to talk about this, I thought it's probably going to be a little more complicated than I think, and you've definitely proved that, especially getting out in the areas where you've got to look for, can you put in a septic tank? Can it perk? What about airplanes? What about roads? So there's a lot to check out. So I think when
And
people are
water.
out there, you find that lot on Zillow, make sure that you reach out to somebody that knows what kind of questions to ask, because it's always attractive to go, oh, this is only 45,000. It's up in the White Mountains. This is cool. I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to build on it. And I looked at one up
Well,
in the Northwest for 20,000. I thought, oh man, I want this. And I looked at it and I thought, it's next to a creek. I'll bet you I can't put in a septic tank. And I
mhm.
called, and sure enough, I couldn't. I was trying to find a place to put my RV, and I couldn't. They said, well, that's why it's 20,000.
Right, right. And you know what the really hard thing is, and the most frustrating thing I find is that you don't know who that agent is on the other side that's inputting that listing. And I have seen so many times where, God forbid, every agent's new. I was new. I made mistakes in the beginning, but there are so many things that I have seen with a vacant land listing that is just flat out wrong. So, confirming where the utilities are. Some of them are like, okay, well, the one next to it says utilities are within 350 feet. Okay, they're really a mile and a half away.
Wow.
It's a whole different beast. It is a completely different beast doing land. But like I said, there's some good money to be made with land if you do it the right way.
Well, it sounds cool. I'm glad you could jump on here and share it with us and clear up. It's not what I would normally say clear as mud, but I hope this helps everybody, because let me know in the comments below if you've tried to get some land, or if you're looking for land, and what other kind of hiccups that you've run into. Are you having plans to get something for maybe a second home? I know there's a lot of interest up in the Pine Top Lakeside area and Show Low. And have you run into any hiccups up there trying to buy land? So let us know in the comments below, and also sign up for my weekly newsletter. Comes out every Monday morning at 7 o'clock, and it's pretty much a recap of some Cromford data that we see, some mortgage news, and then I slap in my opinion. Before I leave, I thought I'd show you where we were with inventory today. We are still going up, but you can see on the ticker below, we're 15,600. We're about 600 higher than last week. And again, it's it's about it's all about new listings not coming on. It's about listings not selling. We got a couple things going here. Terry's saying if NAR goes away, there'll be no code of ethics. Terry, I'm going to sit on that one for a year. This is going to be tied up for a long time. So I know everybody's talking about this lawsuit and everything, but it ain't nothing going to happen for a long time. And then we'll see what happens after that. Gustavo says new eviction came in at 79.48 for the month of October. Should we be concerned? Short answer, no. Here's why I say that. I heard that on the news today as well. And they fortunately shared a very important point. While the eviction number is high, our population has exploded. The eviction number should be higher. So there's more apartments, more rentals, more people, and but it's not anything to be concerned about, in my humble opinion. PR would like to see the map of average well depth for the state of Arizona. I don't know where to get that. Do you?
I don't either. Possibly. I know somebody I can check with. So,
Are there restrictions on building on land by the Luke Air Force Base? I would assume yes.
yes, but it's not necessarily the ones that are real close to Luke Air Force Base. I mean, there are some spotty areas, but Whitman is highly affected. Parts of Surprise is affected. And then you've got that crash site zone in Whitman area and Surprise area. And you can't tell if you're looking at the tax records and looking at the zoning, you don't know. And thanks. Hi, Ruby. How are you?
Ruby's back.
We miss you.
We're going to get on. We haven't been doing it every Thursday, but we're going to be trying to gather more content and doing monthly Arizona updates. So as soon as Pat gets back from his cruise and he's packed on about 15 pounds, we're going to do a monthly update here. So get the whole gang together again. So
That was fun. I miss it.
yeah, it's funny, but it was for those in the background there. It was just getting hard to schedule. We were all so busy. It's like Wednesday, Tuesday, can we get on Thursday? And it's like So, it sometimes can get rough. Going back to that, um, and I didn't ask you. I just said we were talking about those number of evictions. What's your thought on that, Jackie?
Well, I still think there's a backload to some of this as well, but I also heard the same thing with the population growth. Now, I do have some concerns. Things are getting really tough for people right now. And from what I understand, what I didn't gain any weight on my 2 week vacation. Oh God.
Yeah, I'm going to boot Ruby off the show right now. So yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious. I gained weight with just thinking about food anymore. Um, as far as the evictions, I think some of it's still a backload, but from my understanding, a good majority of it is apartments.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the majority of the evictions were apartments, and they were in the low income areas. They were not
That's what I
houses.
heard. So I don't
And
think it's going to have an effect of homes coming to the market from investors.
no, no, and there's still a 6% vacancy rate. Now, one of my investors has a condo on 17th Avenue in Camelback, and he said he's been having a problem. He's had it on the market for rent for a month and with nothing, no
Mm,
inquiries at all. And I said, well, um, you're competing with these larger complexes that have a pool and a clubhouse.
sure.
So they're willing to pay a little bit more and try to get that. But it's also, it's kind of a harder area to fill a rental. It's only a one bedroom condo, 17th Avenue in Camelback. I think he was asking between 900 and 1,000 a month.
Mm,
So, but he may sell it next year. But he has several that are doing well. It's just he said since he's owned it, it's been a tough one to find worthy tenants.
well,
So
one bedrooms are always tough as it is.
yeah, and he said that the tenant that was in there now tore the place up pretty bad. So
Oh, that's a
think about
bummer.
that if you're thinking about being a landlord, man. It's really gets tough. And
Mm-hmm.
Gustavo said, I believe September was 7,800 convictions. Seems like a lot of people without a home. It's tough, when the rent goes up and you've lost your job or just the raising of rent pushed you out. It's hard to deal with. So I don't know what the answer is. Rent is coming down nationally, but when I say that, it's really tiny increments, like 1.2%.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not going to help you at all, right? Hey, rent went down $12. Yay. So that's not going to happen. So anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in. Jackie, I will see you again next week.
Sounds good. Bye, guys.
Thanks. Take care.